All right. Hey guys, y'all do me a favor. Look on LinkedIn if you are there. We should be live on all platforms. Also gonna start recording here. Okay, all right. I'm seeing live. Let's see YouTube. Looks like YouTube just went live. Okay. All right. And just for the sake of anybody who's gonna be watching, in case you happen to be watching this on replay, I haven't figured out if I'm gonna leave this up or not. I'm probably gonna make this private and just keep it with the mentorship program. But for those of you that may be joining the stream, so welcome. These you're seeing the guys that are part of the cybersecurity mentorship program. And so today we're going to be doing our first tabletop where we're going to walk through it. So Sam is going to be facilitating the tabletop exercise. Myself and Scotty and also Pierre are going to actually be the persons that are going to be on the receiving end of the tabletop exercise. So we'll have to scramble. And then coming up in the future, the mentees are going to be, it's going to be y'all turn where Sam, I'll transition over. We'll be on the other side with Sam, and you all will be the ones that will be responding to the actual incident and scenarios. And so I can tell you, Sam's got some good scenarios that he's going to present at the next tabletop. So Sam, at this point, I don't know if you can share a screen to kind of walk through, but we're ready when you are, man. Sam, we lost your audio. All
Okay.
right. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
All right. So today I'll be walking through Kendrick and team through a tabletop exercise. So, uh, subject of this one is going to be ransomware with double/triple extortion. So it's going to go a little bit beyond what a normal ransomware attack normally entails. So, overview is a sophisticated ransomware group has compromised your corporate network. Critical files are encrypted. Soon after, a note appears demanding a ransom. But it doesn't end there. Minutes later, your security team discovers sensitive customer data is being leaked online, and emails start arriving from media outlets requesting comments on the breach. So I'll be walking Kendrick through the start of the incident all the way through, the resolution and follow up, asking him questions, and then we'll kind of grade him on his level of responses and give feedback as to if he potentially missed something or if he could have done something different. So we'll do a little bit of recap at the end.
Okay.
All right, you ready, Kendrick?
Yeah, man. No pressure. Well, I'll tell you what. Let me do this because when it comes to incident, you have to be careful, right? So I'm gonna. I don't have a notepad here where, considering this type of incident, I'm not gonna be logged into my Office 365 environment. You know what I'm saying? So this is where good old pad and pencil. So just so you know, for our side, when we're talking for incidents, you want to have pad and pencil there because that is probably what you're gonna have to use in a situation like this to communicate. So, all right, I'm going to simulate me having pad and pencil here. Uh, Basically, I'm going to be operating in a different environment completely. So hang tight 1 second, Sam.
Yep.
And okay, all right. I got my virtual pad and pencil.
All right, Kendrick. So
Okay.
you wake up and you get a phone call from your help desk. Um, Users are reporting that they cannot access key file shares. Not soon after that, your SOC detects encryption activity on multiple servers. So now you got alerts coming in. And then a ransom note is discovered instructing you to pay 100 Bitcoin in 72 hours or your data will be released.
Okay.
First of all, how do you confirm that this is an actual, true incident?
So the first thing, oh, like the first thing, what is my role within the company? Because that's going to dictate
Um,
what I got to do next.
let's put you at the IT director.
Okay.
Pierre will be the help desk manager, and Scotty will put you at IT manager.
Okay. So I'm the director. Pierre is the IT manager. You say
Uh, Help desk manager.
he's the help desk manager, and then Scotty's what?
Scotty's the IT manager.
IT manager. Okay, hold on. Okay. So I'm going to tell you, first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to immediately contact the CISO to make him aware that we have that there's a potential breach at this point. I'm not going to use the word breach. I want to say we have a potential incident. To be honest, that saying breach is a no-no. At that point, then I'm going to pivot and I'm going to reach out for let's see, we got the IT manager. I'm going to reach out to Scotty and I'm going to ask Scotty to confirm. Like, I need him to like get us actual information, and we need to be prepared to like contain this as soon as possible. So my next step is going to be, as the director, I'm going to reach out to Scotty and ask him to confirm and to get me a status update. Also, I need a war room established because I need to make sure I get all the stakeholders in place, because at some point I'm going to have to potentially engage legal, risk management, notify the C-suite and those type of things. So I do need to have a war room set up. Scott, I hope you're taking notes because I'm going to need to, in addition to that, we need a means for communication. Typically, and a lot of times in companies, you may be using voice over IP phones and stuff like that. So we do need out of band communication and stuff like that to make sure, because we don't want to be doing stuff and then the bad actor is actually listening and watching everything that we're doing, because that's not going to be good either. Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right, perfect. You actually covered my other two questions for this. So you already went through what initial steps you would take, and then who you would notify first internally. Now, as part of that first initial internal notification, do you inform external stakeholders yet? And then why or why not?
I don't inform external stakeholders. In fact, that actually needs to go through the community. So depending on the size of the organization, there's typically going to be like a community relations department that's going to be engaged. And so, and if there's a potential breach, you want to make sure that the people that are responsible for the community relations or marketing, that they're the ones that are completely in charge of anything that's going on, because we can't have this going to the press because that can impact stock prices. That can get really nasty. So we need to make sure that we do not send out any communication that hasn't been vetted by the proper departments.
All right. And at this point, are you going to take any initial steps, or are you going to wait for confirmation of the incident?
Well, so the thing is, I need that information. Like, this is more like I need this like in 5 to 10 minutes at the most, right? So I need some kind of confirmation from, which of course I'm going to reach out to Scotty. I need Scotty to engage the help desk to kind of like, and that I'm not sure who's running our AV, because it sounds like we're in a small company where we don't have a dedicated security department based on the structure. So that being the case, then that's typically, if it's endpoint management, it's probably going to be managed by the help desk also. So I need information like immediately, like within the next 5 minutes. I need to confirm that this is a real incident. So.
All right, Scotty. We put you at the help desk manager, right?
IT manager.
Okay, Scotty's the IT manager. All right, P, are you there?
Yeah.
All right, Pierre.
Yeah.
Put you on the hot seat. So since you're the help desk manager and you oversee the team that is fielding all the incoming calls, what are your initial steps? And assume that you're not aware of anything that Kendrick just said. So how would you go about triaging things as they start coming in?
I will verify with a couple of my help desk team to confirm that there's actually
team that is fielding all the incoming calls,
a breach on our
what
system,
are your initial steps?
and they can confirm by logging into our network to make sure they see the compromised devices. If they are compromised, I will tell them to isolate the compromised devices and to check on logs uh, for active login to their system and look for unknown IP addresses trying to access the devices. After that, I will contact my IT manager and let him know what procedure we have taken and what we should do after that. So that's what I will pass it to Scotty and see what he want to do regarding this situation.
All right, sounds good. All right, Scotty, your turn.
So given the fact that we are in the process of confirming the incident, I would say my approach would be to treat it as a suspected incident, and isolate any of the affected systems that we are seeing ransomware notes, and then see if we can try to do anything to like preserve log data and like maybe like stop automated backups or something. So you know, we don't cause any further issues.
All right, good. Is there anybody that you would notify right away?
So given the fact that right now, Kendrick is looking for an update as far as like if it is legit or not. I mean, right now, I guess we're still waiting for a confirmation. Now, I know I think I heard we were working on it, but just to make sure, Pierre, did you say that you confirmed it?
It is confirmed that our network has compromised. A couple of our machines have that flag, and so yes, it's confirmed.
Okay, so yeah, then I would definitely immediately let Kendrick know that it is confirmed that we are affected, and then we start going into an incident response process.
I got a question.
Sure.
Does anybody say from where we were to now, what data? Does anybody say what has been impacted with a file share directory?
No, not yet. So this is just the initial notification and detections. So at this point, no work has been done to try to identify what the full scope of it is yet.
Right.
So we're just at the very start. We'll get there. And actually, that's the next part that we're going to get to. So now that endpoint logs have been reviewed, the team found that a privilege escalation has occurred and lateral movement has been happening for a few days now. Where would you go from here, Kendrick?
So once it's confirmed, then I've got to engage incident response at this point. So typically most companies, you're going to have some, well, I ain't gonna say most, I'll say a lot of them, but everybody should have an incident response retainer with a company that comes in and does all the forensics and stuff like that. Because honestly, most organizations are not going to have the expertise in-house, and they're not, even if they do, they're probably not going to use their own. So we're going to engage incident response, which typically I think a lot of times you can have maybe up to 4 hours before they're on site. But in the meantime, I'm probably going to, at this point, based on the information I got from the scenario. I know Pierre only said that he confirmed a few systems, but I know at this point, based on the scenario, that we have a significant amount of systems. So at this point, we're probably going to go ahead and pull and yank internet communication. We're probably going to do, like, I'm not sure exactly what the financial impact is, but we've got to be able to contain at this point, because we want to make sure that whatever we got still that's not infected, we got to preserve it. So I'm going to order disconnect from internet at this point, and then I'm going to also engage using whatever tool, whether we're going to engage like complete containment on all the systems, which means that they'll be locked down from communicating with each other, but they can still communicate to. Well, actually, think we got to see that there is the issue. I heard it as I said it. I can't pull internet communication. I got it on the internet, because if I do that, the way the incident response tools function now, whether it be CrowdStrike or SentinelOne, if you take down the internet, then you lose access to your console because it's all cloud-based. So I can't yank internet. I've got to leave internet up, and I've got to do a full containment on the devices themselves. So every device is going to have to be contained at this point, or network contained, which means that you issue that through the console. But then we've also got to figure out a way to isolate and deal with our backups and stuff like that. So containment is not going to, I don't see, it depends on whatever backup infrastructure we got. It's probably not going to have some kind of agent or something that we can just pull the trigger and contain. Yeah. So we've got to be able to, I know we're probably going to have offline backups. So we're going to make sure that we disconnect that, because we're going to have something to restore, and we're going to have to validate that. But we've got to stop the bleeding at this point. We got to do containment. So.
All right. As the investigation progresses, you see evidence of a large amount of outbound data exfiltration.
Yeah. So now.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah. We'll
Yeah.
go for it.
Now, noticing the data exfiltration when you first got the alert, I know we have the IT manager here and we have the help desk manager, but wouldn't the help desk manager first receive those alerts from somebody who's monitoring the system? And
Yeah.
they're the ones that's going to be getting those records and everything?
Well,
Yeah, my help desk team will notify me
Right.
what's the situation, and then I will recommend what the outcome, what they should do, what process should they take for the step. Usually they have like a playbook that they go by. If something like that happens, they know what to do and to contact me, and then I go through the playbook and do the procedures that we have in the playbook to when a situation like that occur. So so right now we try to figure out. We know they have a risk that are most of our devices are locked, so we're trying to isolate the devices that are compromised and then investigate how deep is the compromise in our system to then figure out what's the next step. So, but before I can do any of that, I have to contact my IT manager, and the IT manager has to go to Kendrick. What is your Kendrick? You're my.
So I'm the director. Scott is the
Director.
IT manager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So I have to be on the phone with them talking, trying to figure out what steps should take.
Yeah, well, I can tell you, we're probably not gonna be on the phone. We're probably gonna be in the war room together. You know what I'm saying? We all be sitting in there, and I'll be looking at you like, hey, like Pierre. Actually, you probably every 5 seconds. Hey, Pierre.
Midnight can be in the morning. You don't never know. You can probably be at home.
So here's
That's a very good question there, Kevin.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
I'm gonna, based on that, I'm gonna add a little bit more to this, Kendrick. So get ready.
Oh man, you're trying to cook me, man.
So
Woo! Okay.
You guys,
real quick.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Real quick, before we I guess move on to the next step, do we need to like push out a report to leadership? Have we already decided to do that, or?
Well, so the main thing is if we've engaged incident response, so yes, we've already notified leadership at that point.
Okay.
So, but yes, I need to verbally say that. So yes, we need to learn. So this will be where I would, since we provided we have a CISO, if not, then I have to. But if we have a CISO, then that's where I will notify him. And then once again, typically in the war room, we're going to have legal, we're going to have risk management, we're going to have community relations, whoever does it. We're going to have all these people in the room at this point, and potentially the CEO, you know what I'm saying, just kind of monitors. So the thing is, we got to deal with the data exfiltration. So if we know that right now we haven't, this is not something we've been told by incident response. So that means at least we have the systems to be able to identify the data exfiltration. So the main thing is we need to identify the destination of the data, and we need to shut down, since we can't shut down internet access due to losing control of our tools. We've got to shut down and put the blocks in for anything. I would say I would block everything except for our communication to CrowdStrike or SentinelOne or whoever at this point. So that
So
way
you were
our
trying to
tools.
block,
And by the
you
way,
were
this
trying
is
to block
say it again.
the IP address. You were trying to block the IP address that's
I
exfiltrating.
will block everything but communication to our EDR solution or our management solution.
Yeah.
So SentinelOne, everything but those, you know what I'm saying? And so of course we still got to have some basic services and stuff like that. DNS has got to work. So we got a few things that we still got to figure out. But this is a real scenario because you can't block yourself out of your tools. Farian raised his hand. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so we would probably run a tool like Nmap, not Nmap, Wireshark or something.
Oh no. So
No.
I would say so at this point. So we're talking about this level of a company and stuff like that. We're not gonna. You're not just gonna have some guy running out Nmap. Nmap's not gonna do anything for us at this point because they've already Nmap is for discovery ports and stuff like that. We're on the receiving side. If I you know what I'm saying. So we're trying to block and lock lock things down. Yeah. So
Yeah, because now we're in the containment. We're trying to, contain
incident
the,
response
make sure it
plan.
doesn't keep going.
yeah. So we've identified that we've got some identification going on, but we're definitely trying to contain the threat right now.
Yep.
I'll jump in here for a sec.
Yes.
Go for it.
Would it be possible? So as I was listening, you guys went through exactly what we went through and Evolve. We did a tabletop exercise. We were given this exact same scenario. And ultimately what we were trained to do is close down ports and revert back to the backup system. You said that ultimately you don't want to completely shut down the internet because that gives you access to a couple of your defense mechanisms. So a partial internet shutdown would be the answer, correct?
Correct. Because the problem is if we network contain our machines and then we completely disconnect ourselves from CrowdStrike or SentinelOne or Microsoft, wherever, how do we uncontain? You know what I'm saying? How do we make sure that machines that are not online get network contained and stuff like that? So we've got to maintain, the crazy thing is been through the scenario, like for real. That's why it kind of kicked in. I was like, oh snap. Because we locked ourselves, we blocked our communication to CrowdStrike, which was not good. So we can't afford to lock ourselves out of the tool. And then before that, I actually had a really bad incident where I basically locked the whole company and blocked everything, including my McAfee back in the day. I almost lost my job over that one. You know what I'm saying? Like I literally blocked myself out of the tool. That was many, many years ago. I'll never forget that day. You know what I'm saying? So you do have to be careful when you're doing this because it's a different game. Back in the day, you could unplug the internet. You almost can't now. So not fully.
Okay. So let me just I want to make sure that I understand this clearly. So by what Jeffrey said and what you said, Kendrick, is that we can't close out the internet access fully because a lot of our cloud services that we utilize to protect our systems are on the cloud and going through the internet.
Yes.
So we would use some port filtration to shut down certain ports to make sure certain access didn't get into our internal network. We would go to utilize the IP addresses that we know of the systems that have been affected, and we will contain those specific systems. Like if it was at, I don't know, Pierre's desk, we would contain his desk as being infected, one of the infected places, and because we have to deal with some kind of containment, like you said, Kendrick, before the incident response teams arrives, because we can't let it continue until they go on, because you said it may take another 4 hours before they even show up.
Yeah, they got people that got to get on planes and stuff like that and fly in, and So
okay, so because my thing is this: once we are aware of that containment, because I'm just like I'm thinking of like I guess probably everybody else who might be new. Once I get that alert of that containment, I'm like But what I'm noticing is, Pierre's going to get the notification from the technicians that are in his office. He's going to notify Scotty. Scotty's going to notify you. But Pierre's people are going by. We're going to have a handbook that we're going to have to go by. But we can only do so much because we're still waiting for the decisions to be made by the upper management, which is Scotty and you, Kendrick, right?
Correct.
So, but during that time, while we're waiting for incident response and everything, we still have to contain and prevent any further threats and penetration into the system, right?
Yeah, that's what I said. That my team already isolated the infected machines.
Yeah.
So they
Right.
already-
Right.
Yeah. So
Okay.
so when I say, so the thing is, and this is exactly why you do tabletop exercise, because you don't want to like right now we're taking time to be like, oh well, I think I should do this, I think I should do that. You don't want, there should be no thinking, right? Like everything that we're gonna do in this process should be documented, and it should be like clockwork. You know what I'm saying? So that's why you want to think through as many scenarios as possible, and you want to have a plan in place, because that's what we got hit with. Like we had something and we were doing something, realized we had to have the rules for CrowdStrike at the top of the firewall. Like they had to be at the top of the list for everything, so that no matter what, we still was able to maintain communication to CrowdStrike when we put on the, like, because we have, like, you also have a rule in your firewall to like shut down everything. So you put the rules for CrowdStrike and your security solutions at the top, and then right up under there you have like a deny all rule that shuts down everything else that doesn't match the criteria. And so you kind of have to test that stuff ahead of time. We're doing it on the fly. This is not the way we want to be doing it. You know, it's a very bad day, you know. So this is not going good. I can tell you that all.
But all of those
Yeah,
things that you're
keys to the
speaking,
kingdom in a
all of
sense.
those things that you're speaking of, Kendrick,
Yeah.
they're in the handbook that we're supposed to be following anyway from the company.
Well, keep in
Those are
mind.
part of the.
I think Maurice raised his hand.
Yeah, so keep in
I think he got
mind,
a question.
Sam is giving a
sorry.
scenario. So the thing is,
Right.
I agree, yes, but once again, the reason we're doing this is because you have to stay inside the narrow scenario. So Sam didn't say we could or could not have an incident response playbook. So
Right.
I'm going through this because we want to have the dialogue. Because if we're having the dialogue, I would just say implement the incident response plan. You know what I'm saying? So that's why we're going through this. But yes, you are correct. You want to have everything documented for this particular case. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay.
I think we got two hands up.
Okay, go ahead. Y'all.
Yeah, I have a little question, just to understand the scenario better. What does the company do? I mean, what kind of business or industry are they in?
I mean, that's not really pertinent to the scenario, because this can happen at any company.
Yeah. But I will say, good question. But see, that's the beauty of a tabletop. Because see, you're operating only within the confines of the information that you're given. I think it's good to ask the question. Doesn't mean he's gonna give it to you in the scenario. So
Yeah, because I was wondering, if it's a company that has like services online, provide services online, because the scenario that you're giving, that you guys have been facing like a malware, is it your internal network, or does it also affect your website, like your online services?
Well, the scenario.
Just on the scope,
Well, keep in mind the scenario he gave. He said they're encrypting our endpoint. That's not our website. You know what I'm saying? He didn't say they're encrypting your cloud environment or something like that, your hosting environment. So once again, my responses are directly related to the scenario that I'm presented with at the time. But yes, if this does extend to the cloud or stuff like that. But right now, all I know is that we have we have internal systems that have been compromised, that are being encrypted with ransomware. And typically the way the bad actors would do is they get in and then they hit the kill switch and they encrypt everything like it. They used to do it onesie twosie and you can find it, but like typically now they'll like encrypt everything like right at the same time. So you don't have any time to react. In addition to that, we got data being exfiltrated, so we've got to stop that. So I'm just kind of once again playing along with the scenario as much as possible. So we'll see what Sam has in store for us next. We may get there, but we'll see. Okay.
Yep, we'll find out. So to add another layer of complexity here, you said you contacted your outside third-party incident response team, and during their initial investigation, they found on the dark web a sample file containing customer data. So based on that now, how do you verify what data was stolen?
So I can tell you right now, this is where the incident responders come in. So the way this is going to go is if we've hired the right incident response team, then they're actually going to start negotiation with the bad actors. Typically, bad actors give you a way to communicate with them. And so they start, you think of like these hostage talks on like some of these TV shows, you know what I'm saying? Like, so they start, and this is where they start to do business. And so they're basically going to handle things in a way to mitigate our risk, which means there is potentially, depends on, once again, it depends on the scenario, because a lot of people, I mean, paying still happens. Like, let's not act like that's not an option. So at this point, depending on my industry, all options are on the table, including paying the bad actor to get the data back. But this is something that the incident responders are going to be negotiating at this point. So, and that price is going to be based on whatever the potential impact to us. Like, so I don't want to get on the phone. I don't want anybody from our team to get on the phone, because we get all excited and the price might go up 10 times, you know what I'm saying? Because they know how important it is to us, but they've already done their research most likely. So they already know. But my response, Sam, is this is where the incident responders are going to start to negotiate with the bad actors too, while their forensics teams are also trying to understand what has taken place, and then also making sure they're working to get the bad actors contained, and hopefully that they make sure if they're in the system, trap them or isolate them or something like that. But if not, if we can't get them out of the system and confirm they're out, then we want to make sure they're out of the system before we start situation. And then we have to evaluate our options. Do we restore from backups and do it manually, or do we pay to have things released? So that's my response.
All right, cool. So that'll lead us into our next stage of the scenario here. So the attacker emails contacts within your company directly and threaten to email your company's customers directly. And then about the same time, journalists from your local area start reaching out for comments. And one of the fake emails from the attacker is posing as your CEO, and they start emailing your customers pretending to be your CEO. So your first question based on this is, who's going to handle your media communications?
So based on the structure you gave me, Sam, I believe we're big enough to have a community relations department. So, because we got we got a help desk manager, we got an IT manager, and we got a director. So, this is where I'm going to bring in our community relations. Well, the community relations is already here. So at this point, the community relations is going to have to start drafting what we're going to say so that we can control the narrative, including having direct contact with certain media and stuff like that. By the way, that's something you do need to have set up front, is direct media contacts, because we may have to get ahead of this with the narrative to reduce or minimize the impact. So community relations is going to be responsible for this.
All right. And then at this point in the incident response, do you acknowledge the breach publicly yet?
That wouldn't be my call at this point, based on my position. I think the response from whoever is going to be doing our PR is they're going to have to, considering that it's out there, they're going to have to take charge of the narrative and to give one of those really vague disclosure that corporation XYZ has been potentially, I'm trying to think of the terminology. They use it all the time. But you got to release something, but you don't give specifics. You don't say what machines are compromised, what data. You just say they have experienced a security incident. I think is the most that they released at this time.
All right. And then how would you go about trying to mitigate the spoofed emails?
Well, Well, see, the thing is, so we don't have a choice at this point. We're going to have to reach out to our individual customers and tell them, and this I've seen actually happen. You got to reach out to the customers, and we've had people reach out to us, and yeah, generic communication. Okay. What they essentially would do is same thing, the generic communication that he just mentioned there. That's what you're going to give to a customer. Say, hey, we're seeing people reach out to our customers to say that this is from the CEO, but if you do, this is not from us, and we're gonna release our communication via this channel or maybe this website or something like that. But we're gonna have to figure out like a location that can be trusted. But we're not gonna be emailing customers. But we're gonna have to send that notification, and most likely it's probably either gonna come by phone call or something like that to a POC at the organization to kind of let them know. But we won't be emailing them. I can assure you there.
All right, cool. Anybody have any questions based on that? I know Kendrick kind of cheated and read my my response in the chat to
the generic, yeah. That's the word I was looking for. You know what I'm saying? I was like, you can't say certain things you cannot say. You know, so
right. And just for everybody that's watching this knows, if they're not, because they can't see the chat here. Jeffrey asked. Well, Jeffrey made a statement that there will be no help found in SOPs for this one, but in actuality, there will be plans in place. Your legal team will work with your marketing or other designated media relations teams to kind of prep out generic communications to send out based on whatever scenario is happening. So there's already stuff in place ready to go. You just got to change the format and edit it a little bit to make it pertinent to what's currently going on.
Correct. Yo, so
and I had one more question for you guys. If you find out that that a customer's information is on the dark web, I thought that there was now a legal obligation to come forward and say that you guys have been breached.
Very good point.
Yep.
So
Yes,
there's a legal obligation, but it has a time associated with it, if I recall correctly.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, my bad.
So yeah, it doesn't mean you got to immediately say it. In fact, you want to, and so this is why for most companies now, even small businesses, you need to have some kind of incident response retainer. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a lot of times smaller businesses could kind of skirt around this kind of stuff. But now with some of the laws, yeah, you do have, and I don't know what it is. We need to find out what that time period is now.
So
yeah,
it differs.
That one really, the laws are kind of vague on that one. Yes, you do have a legal right to report it, but they're kind of vague on the timeline for reporting. So that's why you see a lot of these large companies, when they experience a breach in customer data, they're not reporting it for months, because they have to be given enough time to validate what data has been stolen and what could be potentially be exposed, so that way they can identify the right customers. So a lot of the companies are not coming forward right away to immediately notify their customers of potential breach.
Yeah,
I think it depends on, it could depend on like country and the type of data too, right? Like if they got abide by like GDPR, I think they got like a span like 3 days or something like that.
Yeah, GDPR is the toughest in the world when it comes to people's data.
Yeah, because they have to verify that data is actually us, and that data, how new is that data, can be a stolen data that happened years back. You never know what data they have in there, so they have to verify that that's actually new data that they have. So that's why they take the time to make sure that's correct. The data is our data, and not somebody else trying to use somebody else's data to post it as our data.
Well,
yeah, I think like state laws and PCI is like 30 days, something like that.
Well, Kendrick, these are the kind of things that we would actually be working out in the war room, because we would have a coordinator, an incident coordinator who's going to be speaking to all the different departments, and everybody would know specifically what they have to handle,
Yeah.
right? Because when it comes down to, you
Mhm.
know, like Sam said, or like Jeffrey said, once that, especially
Mhm.
once the threat actor starts contacting customers, there has to be some kind of general notification sent out to these customers, because you have to head these threat actors off. If they have
Mhm.
one customer email and they've contacted that one customer, you know that the rest of them are next. So as a corporation, we have to head all of that off. So that has to go to compliance and to legal.
Well,
You know,
let
Uh,
And PR.
look, let me throw one thing out there. One thing, and I really want to emphasize this for like for the guys here in the program as we go forward. Like y'all have gone through training programs, right? And they've talked, maybe that's a best case scenario. That's not, you cannot apply that to every company, okay? Because the thing is, if there's companies right now, I can tell you, I've seen them. They got one person that's over their IT. You know, there are companies that might have 18 staff that may be worth, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars. You know what I'm saying? And so you're not guaranteed to have all these nice ideal things in place. You know what I'm saying?
right.
So I need you to crush that thought. You know what I'm saying, that you're gonna have all this, because you need to prepare for the worst. Okay, that's what the whole thing is. I like what Sam did here, because the hits kept coming, and that's more like reality. The bad actor has already had time to spend and case your location, figure out where your weak points, and they're gonna hit you where it hurts. Okay, they know who your staff is. They've already enumerated your employee director and all that stuff. That's something they know. So they're executing based on information they already have. So what do you do if you go into this and you're planning, because you went to the program and the program told you this is what they have, and you planning for that, and then you sitting on a real job one day and this happens? What if you don't have a community relations department? That's why I was like, okay, do I? Because the only reason I said that I was lucky enough to have a department to control my communication is because Cam gave me 3 levels. He gave me, well, typically when you got a help desk manager, you got an IT manager, and you got a director, that means I'm not even at the CISO yet. You know what I'm saying? You got a CISO, you got a CTO. So that to me says big enterprise company based on scenario. But if he has said, Kendrick, you're the IT manager, or Kendrick, you're the IT staff, and Scott is the IT manager, and Pierre's the CEO, then that paints a different story. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Maybe we're a smaller
yeah.
organization. So that means that in that scenario, Scotty might be the person that's going to have to initiate incident response and have to figure out the communication. They don't have a communication department. Okay. What happens when you don't have that? Okay.
Right.
So a lot of times I think a lot of times it's about being smart. Like, and here's the thing, not every company even has an incident response retainer. Like, they don't have somebody that they can call in. What do you do in that scenario? Because who knows where when y'all get to jobs in cyber and all that good stuff, who knows where y'all going? Okay, so what if you're
In
the
that
only IT guy?
situation, I
Yeah.
try to follow the NIST cybersecurity framework. Incident
Well,
response.
but once again, smaller organizations probably don't have a clue what NIST is. See, that's why I'm trying to break through all these preconceived notions that are out
Right.
there, because that's the good part about my job. I've been to $1 billion companies to down to $1,000,000 or $100,000 company. I've seen the gambit, and I can tell you that some companies don't have an IT staff at all, and you might go to work for that company where you're the only IT staff and you're the security guy. So if you're dependent on this to save you, to have that communication, then you're not going to be very successful if there is an actual incident. So you need to kind of think, and that's why Sam said doesn't matter, because these things are common to kind of all organizations. So we're trying to make these tabletops for y'all so that it has broad application. Now, if I'm working in my organization, or if Sam, he's doing that for his organization, it's going to be very specific to his organization. So questions like Malik said, that he'll factor in, like if you're, like he said, oh, I'm working at the Honda plant, that means I got to think about my industrial control system, manufacturing floor, and stuff like that. Got to make decisions. And if I had to choose between paying somebody $30 million to save $200 billion, guess what they're probably going to do? mean, let's just keep it real. We know it happens, right? And then
If you haven't figured out, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, and then I mean, you got to think, and that I mean, that's beneficial for the bad actors. They want to get paid too. So there's even the funny thing about even with the bad actors, there's even like some like there's an obligation for the bad actors to kind of that years ago we saw the transition when you first got ransomware. They were like your data may or may not get decrypted even if you paid them. So the bad actors recognized that we had to be more reliable. Like we need them to trust us. And so we started to see stories about bad actors having some of the best customer service ever because they needed companies to understand that if they paid the ransom, that they were going to get their data back, which increases the probability of companies paying. But the data I'm receiving is that companies are paying less now. They're choosing to pay the ransom less now than in previous years. And so you may have some updated data, but that is kind of what I'm seeing is trending down on companies actually paying to get their data back at this point. So
that's a good point because it depends on the third actor is what decides if you want to pay that person or not. Some third actors will make you pay it and then they will not unlock your computers or they make you pay, they unlock it, but they still release your information. It depends on which threat actor you're dealing with too.
That's correct.
They do differently. If you haven't found out how our system got compromised, how the system got compromised. It can be an email, a phishing email, could have been what else? Vulnerability in our system. So we haven't got to that point to find out how our system got compromised.
Yeah. So a good example is like Kevin mentioned, he's like, hey, or who mentioned Wireshark? Somebody mentioned pull out Wireshark. Was that Malik or?
I thought it was Farron.
Farron. So the thing is, and that's why here because why it's important that we're kind of trying to like give y'all a realistic expectation because that's like really tiny environment type of stuff where you're going to be looking at Wireshark and stuff like that. At the level of this kind of thing, we're going to be looking at firewall logs that are being aggregated into some kind of tool or location where we can view this stuff. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to have one person out there with a computer plugged in doing some type of stuff. We got to be able to execute it still. So this impression gave me that we've got at least like immediately when I think of the scenario, I'm thinking that we at least got 1,000+ machines minimum, you know what I'm saying, for the scenario. And so that's a whole different set of tools that y'all may not have been exposed to when y'all were coming through some of the programs that y'all came from before coming here. Does that make sense? So everything, and I need y'all to expand y'all thinking, like at the level that for instance, where Sam plays at this point with his company, this is a different game. You know, these individual tools like bring up Oracle VirtualBox. No, it's not Oracle VirtualBox. It's whatever it's not VMware. VMware is still there, but it's a whole bigger set of tools and stuff like that. And so y'all got to start thinking like 1,000+ machines. Everything that you're doing in cybersecurity, think about what do you do in a scenario where there's 1,000+ machines type of deal. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you execute that? So that's why I'm trying to drill this into y'all. You can't touch everything. You got to be able to do things at scale. Okay. Does that make sense? All right. Sure, we got more questions, man, because y'all are up next. This is like we took the hit this time. Sam's got like 5 or 6 more scenarios that he can hit y'all with next time. So y'all need to speak up. So
isn't there some way like federal government or the city or whatever, other than customer, is there, police or whatever, is there any in this structure or this report or this playlist or whatever, other than customer and incident and the security folks, is there anyone else in the city or whatever, the county or the federal that you make aware of what's going on?
We're getting there.
Yeah. Okay.
Hold on a moment on that one.
I'll tell you personally what we did is we did have this funny thing is because I kind of led the initiative. Sorry, go ahead, Sam.
Can we pause on that one? Because that's coming up in a little bit.
Oh, we're not through?
No.
I was feeling like we get to the end. Oh Lord, where is this going now?
Do everything.
Wow, you gotta be terrified, Sam. Where are we going?
All right, we're getting close to the end here. So
okay.
Wow. So next up, the attacker offers a 50% ransom discount if payment is made within 12 hours. Your legal team advises you on the liability and risk of paying or not paying. So based on that, do you negotiate? And if you decide to make the payment, who has the authority to approve that payment?
We're still live, baby.
You know who has authority to apply that? The guy that you always fire when you have an incident. The CISO. The fall guy. Yo, there's a lot of CISO jobs out there if y'all want them, y'all. Just short term.
Did you already know who are the threat actors, Sam?
Yeah, they already reached out to the company, so you know who they are.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that decision would be the CISO, and if there is no CISO, that comes down. I assume that comes down to the IT director after having discussed it with the C-suite. Yeah. Well, actually, I take that back. That actually comes down to if you don't have like a CISO, you probably got like your reports like to the CFO or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's going to, that decision is going to come from that person to make it. You can provide with the evidence and stuff like that, or the information, and then they'll have to make the decision whether or not they're going to pay, how they're going to pay. Those type of things will come through the CFO if you don't have a CISO.
All right, and then based on that, what are your possible implications of paying versus not paying?
So paying is typically when you pay incident reputation, but I can tell you from, if y'all watch the CISO series, if any of y'all watch CISO series, every freaking day there's somebody getting hacked, right? And nobody seems to care as much anymore, to be honest. If you think about what happens when a company gets hacked, their stock goes down for a couple of days and then it comes right back up. People buy a lot of stock and probably get really happy about it. You know what I'm saying? So honestly, the implications of paying, I think, are less. And there are some companies recently that I commend them for choosing not to, but it's going to come down to a financial calculation. That's what my ultimate decision is. It's if the number and the reputation, the financial cost of the reputation, if that's going to be billions of dollars versus me paying the bad actor $30 million, I'm probably going to pay the bad actor $30 million and just deal with the fallout. Yeah.
All right. And then based on this, would you reach out to any form of law enforcement at this point?
So the answer to that is 100% yes. And I'm looking here. Let's see. Did I just lose my feed? Okay. Oh, okay. I'm just checking out YouTube. Thought we had lost YouTube. So yeah. So here's something I personally did. You remember when I told you guys, I put in the chat that I wanted y'all to join InfraGard. Some of y'all there. Some of you guys don't know about InfraGard. So one of the things I did, I was involved in InfraGard. So I did kind of lead the effort to kind of get us an FBI contact. So every company should be in contact with whatever the local FBI person is for that region. You should have their number set. And it should be a part of your incident response procedures. Now, the reality is it's not going to be like TV. The operative number, if something was kind of anywhere from like 300,000, this is a few years ago. If it was like 300,000 and up, then it's very likely that they may come pay you a visit. You know, I don't know what that number is, probably higher now, but also keep in mind that there's typically only in a particular area, there may be only, one or two FBI cyber guys that are overseeing a particular area of the entire state. So it's not like you're guaranteed to get somebody from the FBI. Also, and it's something like this, the FBI could have actually contacted us in the scenario. So the FBI might have saw some of our data, and they may actually have already proactively reached out to us to notify that there was a breach. So.
All right, cool. And then now we're at the very end here. So you verified that backup systems are intact, but obviously, as you know, restoring everything does take time. And some systems can't be restored without encryption keys. So what is going to be your prioritization for performing the recovery operation?
So wait, did we pay it, or did you say which? Oh, you didn't tell us which scenario. Okay.
Nope. Doesn't matter.
Okay. So So some of them can't be restored without the encryption key, which of course the bad actors have, and we need if we're going to do that. But you said we verified that all of our backups were good, correct?
Yep.
So the thing is, without knowing the financial impact, like to me, the scenario I would prefer to do any day is to be able to restore from backup. Like that would be my preferred choice. But if that's going to be, once again, if it's going to be billions versus millions or hundreds of millions versus 10 million, that's a decision that would have been made. But my two options were, if the financials weren't just kind of insane as far as how much it would cost us, then of course I definitely would choose to restore from backup. So wait, you said they're good. Oh, you said they're good, but some of them can't be restored without the encryption key, is what I heard, right? Did I hear that right?
Right.
So that means I don't have all of them. Oh, sure.
You got most of your backups.
Yeah.
Wow,
He was
that's
mad at
What do
me
you-
about, like, what we prioritize.
What do you prioritize?
Ah,
I would say business critical systems, like see if we can get any of those up.
but we don't.
Like,
We
or
just,
get,
yeah,
And
go ahead.
all those things
we
that
went through it,
continue, business continuity, all those things that continue the functioning of the business. Right? I'm thinking.
Well, you're right, but keep in mind, Sam didn't tell us what data, which backups are actually. Yeah. So the things we don't
Right.
know. So the whole, and by the way, business continuity covers this whole thing. Like everything that we're talking about,
Yeah.
they're keeping from getting ransomware. All that falls under business continuity. But what we don't know is what data is still encrypted and it needs a key. So that could be customer data. It could be just, some, generic database or something like that. We don't know.
Now, can I ask this question just in general?
Mm-hmm.
Sam, for all of those systems that were compromised, right? That we don't have the encryption keys for, right? Could we restore the backups and can we change those keys? Or we have to have the other keys? Because I know we have the keys somewhere
No.
written down.
No. These are not keys that we own. The
So-
bad actors have encrypted this with ransomware, which means they can
Oh,
only
those
be
keys.
unlocked.
Gotcha.
Yeah, if the bad actor
Right.
gives us those
Right.
encryption keys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
Okay. Huh. So.
That'd be-
Sam, how did we do?
I mean, essentially,
Scotty hit the right answer.
What was
You
the- what
focus
is
on
it?
your business? You focus on your business critical systems first.
yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
What's your quickest way to get the business back up and running?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I guess that lets us know what our gaps are. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Okay.
And then final question is, what changes do you think should be made to prevent this from occurring again in the future?
Number one, we need to have we need to have quarterly tabletops, right? The second thing is we need to make sure that we got our entire incident response plan in place. We need to make sure that because our backups got hit, that means we've got to redo our backup strategy. So we got to come up with a backup strategy that actually is better than what we're doing now. So I don't know. The thing is, I mean, I'm sure we had offline backups, but whatever we did failed. So depending on whatever we had, we've got to reevaluate that and figure out what we can do to make sure that we never lose our backups again. So
lesson learned. Lesson
Yeah.
learned. That's why we need to do this.
yeah,
Study our attack
And
surfaces and
document.
whatever attack vector they use to get in to
yeah,
our system.
yeah,
We have to go over the entire vulnerabilities at this
Well,
point in
that's,
time.
that's where you got the lesson learned. What we learned from that.
yeah.
Why we need
So we
patch them.
yeah.
But-
Well, we gotta spend the money that we got to spend all the new money that we got to because that's what happens when you get hacked, right? You get a whole new security budget to buy the tools that you should have bought in the first place. So we'll probably be buying some new tools, solutions. We got to figure out how to pin this all on Pierre for the mistake, so he can be responsible for it.
Hey, don't you, I told you I needed 6 people. You only gave me 2.
Yeah, I never like I never liked Pierre anyway. He had a snappy attitude, so this opportunity to take care of Pierre.
It's all right, Pierre. Kendrick took the fall for this one.
I think I'm out. So that means I'll be a future. That means basically I'll become a CISO somewhere else now, right? I got promoted from director to CISO. Basically, that's how that works. So,
don't you fix your I guess your incident strategy, when these sorts of things happen as a part of your lessons learned? All that?
Yeah. So you honestly, you hit the nail on the head. The correct step is, so we've gone through the well, here's what we did. We didn't do our preparation, right? So that's where we failed. Number one. We did.
I'm thinking like disaster recovery or something like that.
Well, this is yeah, go ahead.
I'm just thinking, when these sorts of things happen, you sit in your lessons learned and blah 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 happens, and you update or you revise or you see what happens, and you create this disaster recovery for you to I guess improve the steps that you have in place when these sorts of things happen.
Well, post-incident response.
Yeah. So here's where, and I was kind of pointing out because here are the procedures that we typically go through here, right? So did it actually paste?
Yes, you did. You put it in the chat.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't mean the message right after you. My bad.
Oh, okay. I was like, where did that go? Okay. So kind of to point out what happened here in this one. So if we failed to prepare first, we didn't have our stuff together. We did have detection, which was good. So they say you can't prevent everything, but you at least need to have the ability to detect what happens, right? That's kind of what we talked. We did the analysis. We did a containment. We didn't really do an in-depth analysis, but we kind of got affirmation somehow. The eradication, that's typically would have been done through the actual incident responders. And so we went through the recovery phase of restoring the business critical systems. And then, Mr. Jones, what you mentioned is that's going to be the post-incident activity or the lessons learned, right? So once all this happened, that's where we get into that last portion, which we go through and we discuss every single detail. And then we implement the necessary changes, security controls and stuff like that, because there's always stuff. I mean, I will tell you from everything that I've seen since I've been in this industry, everything has always come down to a financial calculation, and it was never made by the security person. It was made above that security person's, whether it be director or CISO or whatever. There was always a decision made, and those security departments, for the most part, always operate with an inappropriate amount of money budgeted for what they need to actually protect their systems.
Let me ask you this. I mean, I was in the Navy, and we had these drills where we tested the things that were compromised. We had these series of stages and steps where we actually just went through it and did the exact same thing and see, did it hold up?
Yep.
So does that type of stuff a part of this lessons learned report? Does someone go back through at some point test these things again, or no? They don't do that.
Well, so, and I want Sam to chime in after this. What I would say is that is part of your cybersecurity hygiene to start off, right? So that's why you should have pen tests. Like people do, like here's the thing. People like say, I'm gonna have a pen test once a year. Why? Yeah, exactly. Right. You think about that. I want to have them come in and have this because you want to check the compliance box, right? To say, and Scotty, what is typically the duration you see kind of from your side when they come in? How often they have to do pen tests, or Sam, how often that y'all have to? Well, you got to be careful speaking specifically. You can't speak. Scotty is the more nominal. We ask because let's tell about his security posture. So, yeah, generally, what have you seen, Scotty?
I mean, most compliance standards, they only really require that annual, but if like whatever client it is that you're working with or that team has someone internal that can, do it consistently, that'll be one thing. Or if they contract with someone who does it more than annual. Yeah. I mean, it all depends on how much they care about it, but if they're just checking the box, they only have to do it once.
Yeah.
Because from what I understand, if you have GDPR, HIPAA, or what's that, PCSI, DSS,
PCI.
you
Yeah.
have,
Mhm.
yeah, you have to, according to compliance, have a
Yeah.
pen tester come in at least once a year. But
Mhm.
for any company, when you're really doing some vulnerability testing, that's going to be a part of the security. Like Kendrick said, that's a part of your normal security audits. Should be normal,
Mhm.
in regards to testing your system for vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
You know, so
I'll tell you what I've learned from kind of doing this as a consultant is that quarterly pen testing I think would be my minimum now. Minimum. I would do quarterly. The reason why is how much your IT infrastructure can change within a quarter. How many things can configuration change, new applications can be implemented. So the minimum I would say for somebody who's really trying to have good cyber hygiene would be quarterly. I still am a big fan. Like we do vulnerability scanning for all of our customers like a daily basis. We do daily vulnerability scanning. I still like that. I don't know if I would ever say it's recommended not to do daily vulnerability scanning because I can tell you the numbers that we see change from day to day, it can be significant. So you can have like 300 criticals one day and then 500 the next day, just like that, or 1,000 criticals. You know what I'm saying? And so once again, so you want to have, and so kind of what Mr. Jones was saying, the equivalent of what y'all were doing in the Navy, it would be a penetration test. Okay. Vulnerability scan would be something that you want to do on top of that. Patch management. And once again, these are the things that are not getting taught really in the boot camps. And that's what drives me crazy, or in the universities. Patching, deploying the security updates is one of the biggest ways to close the security holes. But that's the hardest thing to do. At 1,000 machines, I can tell you, Sam can tell you too, in any organization, when you get past like 30 or 40 machines, you start to get to 100, 200, trying to keep all the security updates installed is probably one of the most difficult things of the entire business. And then because that's going to take care of about 70% of your vulnerabilities. And then I say about 30% of the vulnerabilities, you're going to have to this is where your PowerShell, shell scripting, you got to be able to write scripts and deploy those scripts at scale. Like that's kind of what I've come to see over the time I've been doing this. Okay. And the problem is how many people do you have in your organization that can just spend their time just doing that 24/7? Okay. In my previous role, we had a guy, his whole responsibility was doing patches. That's his entire job pretty much, was doing patches. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, Lord, I hope I never have to do that. Cause I was like, that's crazy. Like you used to literally all day, every day. You have to, when the patches come out on Patch Tuesday for Microsoft, you got to research them all. You got to see what's going to break stuff. You got to figure out if there are any bad patches included. Then you got to schedule deployment of those patches at different days. You can't just push them all out at one time. Got servers, critical servers, SQL servers, you know what I'm saying? Like all kind of servers. And these servers can only be patched this time. This can only be patched this time. And then you got to track all that stuff. You know, it's a lot. And in order to do security correctly, you need a decent amount of people. And no company wants to pay that much for people. That's what it boils down to. So that's why the hygiene that Mr. Jones mentioned doesn't get taken care of, because it requires a lot of people or very high level, high skilled people who have the ability to automate this at a high level. Okay. And that's why companies don't want to spend the money. They rather have a few high level people that can automate the stuff versus hiring a whole bunch of entry level people. And then they got us this big staffing requirement. So.
Kendrick, that's what I was going to ask you. Is that where Python automation comes in?
So
to be helpful?
So good question. So here's the deal. I can tell you Python. So for most Windows machine, PowerShell is going to be the language that you use to do things for automation behind the scenes. Shell scripting is what you use on Mac and Linux. Like, do y'all use any Python by chance? Any of y'all use any Python for doing updates to your endpoints or anything like that? See, that's what I'm saying. See, that's what everybody's teaching Python, but Python is not something you using to maintain your endpoints. It's not. Python is great for pulling data from tools to update dashboards, you know what I'm saying? To do all kind of automation of data and stuff like that, you know, data retrieval, data displaying and stuff like that. That Python's great for that. But when it comes to maintaining actual systems, it's going to be PowerShell or shell script in most cases.
Okay.
Any other questions, y'all? Floor is open, because this is a good time to kind of talk through these things, because remember, y'all up next week. Okay.
Well, next week, make sure we have a small company.
No, no.
Man,
Sam has shown me a little bit about.
All right.
That was a good one, Ronald.
Yeah, I mean, haven't you've been in this program enough to know? You think it's gonna be that easy?
It's been 1 week. It haven't even been a week yet, but sole proprietor or something like that.
I mean, y'all said y'all wanted to know y'all want to know real cybersecurity, right? So here we go.
Hey, that's bring it on. I want to
Yeah.
go through it. I want to be confused now. If I have confused now and I don't know what's going on, and I have the questions now that'll prevent me from having it when I'm on the job,
Yes.
I'll know what to do. So bring it all on now. Now's the time to be dumbfounded and not know what to do, and
Yes.
get all the information that you can and ask all the questions. So
Well, tell you what, as we wrap up here, so Sam, I'm gonna turn it over to you to wrap up, and then I got some closing things to take care of.
Yeah, so very good responses, great interaction with everybody else. You guys definitely brought a lot to the discussion. Kendrick,
Yeah.
good job. You didn't miss very much.
Okay, so I actually passed, man. I can go to work with my head somewhat high next week.
I'll give you a pass. There were a few things that the other guys brought up that you didn't focus on, but you know, they kind of reminded you on, and then you filled in the gap there.
Appreciate y'all. Y'all saved me. Yeah.
One thing that nobody really brought out was you know, testing the integrity of the backups during this process. I mean, obviously you should be regularly testing your backups on a regular cadence. But in the case of a breach, that is definitely one place that threat actors target if they can find them, because that will definitely help, you know, encourage the company to pay. Because if they still have intact backups, why would they pay? They just start the restore process and move on.
Okay.
Quick question, Sam. Because I know I had mentioned like isolating the backups, but like, is it like at that point we kind of like we are where we are at that point, right? Like it either works or we don't. We can't really like go fix anything at that point, I want to say.
You should be having somebody test the backups, because that'll definitely shape what direction you head on when it comes time to start doing the recovery process. You know, when you're ready to start doing the recovery process, shouldn't be the time to be going, well, has anybody checked our backups to validate that? Because now you're going back a few steps and you're delaying the entire process. Where, you know, if during your initial evaluations and in response and investigations, you have that going on at the same time, that will definitely help shape what direction your response and planning for the recovery phase, you know, goes in. It'll also help you determine and be able to communicate with your executive team and any stakeholders at this point, what is your estimated timeline to recovery.
Okay.
Yeah, outside of that, yeah, you guys hit most of all the correct points on this one.
So let me just ask you. So once we validated that it is a breach, an incident has occurred, then like you said, we're checking backups. It's wise to verify the backups at that point in time, because from then on, you're responding to the breach and you want to know if your backups are good, like you said, or not. Because like you said, that will determine for stakeholders, that will determine if we're going to pay the ransomware or not, because it makes no sense in paying the ransomware and your backups is messed up too. You're only going to back up, put the thing back on again. A breach.
Yep. Yeah, no, that
incident has
that
occurred.
is true. So that is definitely part. That is one part of the instant response. You know, the initial investigations, because you want to know and you want to be able to communicate with you know, the C-suite, your executives. You want to communicate to them how long you think the company will be down, because remember, time is money here.
Right.
And the potential loss in revenue and sales and whatever your company does, that loss will really help drive what your eventual response and recovery initiatives are going to be in this case.
Okay. Okay.
So when it comes to when you say restore the backup, so that means rebuild the servers, like MySQL, rebuild that whole server.
Yep. Yeah. So you wouldn't test restoring like one of the really large you know, servers, but you'll spot check a few of the smaller systems, whatever is quickest to recover and restore, just to verify that that backup system seems to be still intact and you can start the recovery process.
And so backups are normally like did what every day or every hour or every 2 days, 3 days.
Yeah, it depends on the criticality of the system. Normally you'll do a full incremental daily. Depending on the system, you can do incremental backups every, you know, 4 hours, and then usually like a full backup either weekly or monthly, depending on your storage capacity and how long it takes. I've seen all across the board from daily to weekly to monthly.
Yeah, I think that would be a man. I'm thinking that would be good. I'm making note to add. I'm trying to figure if backup strategies would be good. At least make a post. Um, because the thing is, like for instance, Kevin, when you say backup, a lot of times, like you may think like SQL Server, but there are just general file servers at times too that still exist that just have a bunch of documents or pictures or something like that. So it's not always like necessarily a database server. You know, it's a server that could be doing anything. You know, it could be a web server. It could be the HR accounting software server. You know, it's just you just never know. So when you talk about yeah, go ahead.
To add on to that, one of the companies I worked at, they went as far as actually taking backups of certain endpoint systems, just because of the critical function that they provided to the workflow of the company. You know, losing one or two of those systems that performs that critical function would cause a significant revenue loss to the company, because they wouldn't be able to function until that system is rebuilt.
Okay. So if I'm thinking of my security system, any critical servers should have backup.
Yeah, all your servers, pretty much anything and everything that you can think of should be backed up. So even switch configurations, firewall configurations, everything.
Okay.
You want a full backup of as much as you can get, because if you have to do a full rebuild and recovery, you want to have as much as you can get.
Okay. Now let me just ask you this, Sam. I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm saying the terminology right. A, B, and C backups, meaning your A backups are, like you said, they're backed up frequently. If you have this type of breach, which is a ransomware, and you don't have access to encrypted parts of your system, you by having your A system that's constantly being backed up, you can implement that to have the business continue a lot faster than if you have a B system which has some of the backup data, or a C system which really doesn't have anything, and you got to start from ground up. So do most companies or organizations that you come in contact with, probably Sam and you, Kendrick, you probably know this, do they mostly have A or B? Because I know they should have one or the other. I mean, it makes no sense to even have a C. Like zero, Kendrick, really?
Yeah, I've been at
Oh,
companies
wow.
that don't back up at all. So yeah.
Yeah, but I have a question.
I'm looking at Kevin's face like the reality just hit.
Because I'm like, how
What
do
is-
you function? Like, I mean, I understand with the smaller system, maybe the small companies, but it's
Mhm.
like at this day and time in 2025, you know how valuable data is.
Yep.
So, you have a ransomware on a small company, your business could be over overnight.
Yep.
That's it.
And there are still companies out there that zero backups.
Mhm.
Wow.
They really don't pay very much attention to their security posture. They don't take into consideration, okay, if everything is breached and we have access to nothing, how are we going to get the business going again?
Right.
I've been in that situation, and it's not fun.
And it's like, do you care about continuation of your business, or you just here to get the money today? You're not even worried about tomorrow if you don't have any of that. You just going day by day. Because we know anything could happen at any time.
Yep.
Wow.
I have a question.
Wow.
What if this person is still active? We doing all this stuff, and
Yep.
he's still there. He hasn't gone anywhere. I'm wherever he is. Whatever system, he's still there.
Yeah. So that's all part of the recovery process, is making sure that they no longer have access to your systems. So I
But
mean,
the-
honestly, the real for sure way, I mean, you're resetting everybody's passwords, like API access, all the API keys. You're changing everything. You're shutting everything down. You're resetting everything and starting it all from scratch. So part of that incident response and recovery is now you got to go around to all of your users and have them start to log back into their systems once they come back online, reset their passwords, reset their MFA devices, anything and everything that they can use to log in. That's all removed and reset.
So the process can take a week, 2 weeks,
Oh,
because that's a lot.
yo,
It is a lot.
Can I share something? I'm gonna put something on the screen for y'all, okay?
Yep.
First name Salt, last name Typhoon. That's the name of a threat actor. Here's what I asked. Is Salt Typhoon still in the US? If you're in cyber, you probably saw this, but if otherwise, you probably didn't. There were bulletins went out saying everybody should stop using SMS, stop using text messages, because the Chinese threat actor Salt Typhoon basically hacked the US SMS system. And and they are still there.
The mobile networks, yeah.
They are still there. As far as all of us know from the security, I haven't seen anything to say otherwise. And I know of companies that, and I think there are even some U.S. government agency who still have threat actors that they can't get out of their systems. That's a reality. You may not ever get certain threat actors out of your system. So let me give you a good example. All right, so let's take sheriff's office, and we can use Alabama, Tennessee. We pick up my home state, Mississippi. So you got a sheriff office in Mississippi somewhere. Threat actor gets in there. How much infrastructure does that sheriff office really have? Or even that city, the whole municipality? How much? They don't have, $20 million worth of cybersecurity software and services there. They don't have like a full IT staff a lot of times. So who's going to get them out of the system? Most of the times they can't even detect that they in the system. That's the bad part about it. They don't even know until they pull the kill switch and encrypt everything for ransomware. So you have to understand that is a reality for a lot of organizations, that I know of some that could not get the threat actor out of their networks. So,
You know, that's really kind of scary. But the other thing, Ronald, that I learned that really surprised me too about that answers your question a little bit, how much the cybersecurity community actually gets together to promote who are the threat actors out there. Now, when I went through the Google Careers program, they had us going to Virus Total.
yeah,
Virus Total has the list of a lot of cybersecurity threat actors, the names they use, what they did, how they did it, and you have a whole community just on there from different companies speaking about and sharing this information. That's one of the reasons that you know the threat actors get known by other people in the community. Now I was surprised because I didn't know that.
yeah,
So when I went on Virus Total and went to some of these other places and I actually saw other corporations and people in the cyber community actually speaking about this, I was impressed. You know, because like Kendrick said, some of them could be in your systems for years and you wouldn't even know. Some of them you
yeah,
can't even get them out.
yeah,
But there is a dialogue actually taking places between the government and this organization and that organization, this person in Europe or wherever. You know,
yeah,
it amazed me when I saw it.
yeah. Only thing I would say is so I'll be honest. Like for me, Virus Total is like at the bottom of the security tools I use right now. Virus Total is like at the very bottom. Like I very seldom touch. I'm just being honest. Like when a few years ago, I was all about the Virus Total, but I'm just telling you, like with the way tools have evolved now,
Mm-hmm.
Virus Total is like way down. Like I look at Virus Total as one data point in the midst of a whole bunch of other data points. So when you guys are getting a Sentinel-1, when we see a detection in Sentinel-1, it's going to have a link to Virus Total that's going to already have the hash and stuff. You click it, it'll go directly to Virus Total, and Virus Total will show. That's just one little data point. Okay.
Right.
So
Right.
essentially, what the reason why you're paying for these bigger tools, like I said, and Justin's kind of got some more. You got some close to hitting hands on. So when you get hands on, it'll make more sense. But the reason you're using these big tools, these expensive tools, is because they're taking a lot of very valuable data points and they're pulling all this stuff together. So really what you want is, if you want to talk about collaboration, you want to talk about NIST, which is doing a National Vulnerability Database. That's a huge part of collaboration. You're talking about CISA. CISA is a great source of information. I don't know if y'all saw it, but now, we have the NVD and the National Vulnerability Database, but now they're working to come up with the EUVD, the European Vulnerability Database. And honestly, I think what's happening is because they are basically CISA, who is the body that controls make the vulnerability databases and keeping that up to date. When they almost got defunded, I think it scared the crap out of people all around the globe. And they was like, okay, we can't rely on the US no more. So we're gonna like Europe's like, we got to get our own vulnerability database because the US, we don't know what's gonna happen with them US folks now. So I'm just saying it's a whole bunch of organizations out there. Like I say, I think like Brian Krebs is a data set, as a data point. He has some really good stuff he releases. I like John Hammond, who's giving me some details. You got Hacker News, you got security, there's a whole bunch of these, and I'll see if I can get you a list of them. But I'm just saying, like, there's a whole bunch of councils, and you can like NIST once again, and ISO, and what is the other, like, organization like Asaka, and it's just like it's ISACs, information sharing, and what's the other word? Information sharing and something committee. I can't. Okay. Let me look it up. I forgot the doggone thing. But it means Information Sharing and Analysis Center. So you have like an ISAC for the financial corporation, where people from financial corporations get together and talk. You have IT ISACs. So let me put it in the chat so y'all know what I'm talking about, because y'all say, what does it do? Talking about ISAC.
They share information, correct?
Huh? That's exactly. You
CJ.
share information. Like, for instance, if, like the power companies may have an ISAC where they get together because they talk to some very specific needs that are part of the power grid. So you can have, so once again, financial ISAC, IT ISAC, what is the other ones? Healthcare ISAC, you know what I'm saying? So that it's a lot of organizations out there that meet to share information to kind of help mitigate that. VirusTotal is owned by Google, by the way, too. I don't know if that's been, most people think of VirusTotal like it's a separate thing it used to be, but I think Google owns it now, part of Google Alphabet or something like that. So, and it costs a lot of freaking money to get to the data behind VirusTotal. A lot. It's very expensive. So it's way more information in that database, but you got to pay for it.
Okay.
Yeah. So any other questions? Okay. So just want to make sure we're clear. All right. In the school.com platform, under the community tab, okay, I made a post about the CompTIA Project Plus because I think this is a great opportunity for y'all to gain skills that are going to be valuable. Your communication skills, you know what I'm saying? Your managing projects. I can tell you that a lot of IT people do not do good at managing projects, okay? Because you got to juggle. So free CompTIA Project Plus and certification voucher is available. I need everybody to go to that post, get registered. That's 8 weeks of training that we're going to do together. Okay. So that's in addition to the stuff. I know everybody wants to do like a specific cyber thing, but I'm telling you, this stuff goes a long way. In addition to that, NA HampCon CTF next weekend. Okay. Capture the flag exercise. Make sure you get registered. Get registered and join our team. That's part of and by the way, when I give these assignments, this is also part of my evaluation of you and your ability to execute independently. Okay. This is very important because the same thing is on the job, you're going to be responsible for some tool or some area of security. Your manager or whoever comes in and signs something, he shouldn't have to tell you twice. You basically go do it and you sign up. And so I got very clear instructions, and my goal is to give it to you guys one time and for y'all to execute. Okay. All right.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So those are two things I need y'all to complete. I would love to see that done. And if I don't know if I can do this in the next 30 minutes or so, but once again, you can think about the value of just that Project Plus certification. I mean, CompTIA certifications is how much for a Project Plus? Plus, if you were to buy the book, you know what I'm saying? That's like $400-500 easy that y'all are getting free through Broward, man. So shout out to them. If accepted to the program, which I think y'all got a good chance to get accepted. So
yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Oh, by the way, shout out to Malik too. I don't know if y'all watched that post by Malik, Hack Your Brain. That's a really good post about focusing and why and what the thing I preach all the time. Like instead of trying to do everything in cybersecurity, focusing and niching down. And then for those that are new too, if you scroll all the way down, there's a post that I put about what is it? Oh, it's already on the second page. Dang, it's crazy. We got so much. We're gonna roll this to the second page. So if you go to the second page, I have a post about the different cybersecurity jobs. So, and I want y'all to look at that list because a few of y'all come here, y'all trying to figure out what y'all want to do. And then, Mr. Jones, one of the things I want you to think about too is becoming like say we want to get ahead of it, become talking about AI security and the compliance standard for AI security. I think that might be a good path for you to take, to be honest. So the ISO standard is only like 40 something pages. It's tiny. So that's what I'm gonna try to put a course, but I think that might be something really to differentiate between a lot of people is to get ahead and become an expert in AI security. You can go out and do consulting on your own, maybe build your own company based on that,
Gotcha.
Okay. All right. On the second page for the new people, there's a post cybersecurity in 8 minutes. Basically, that's referring to the CISO series. If you don't watch that every day, you should. And that post was from March 27th, core cybersecurity roles. I posted that. That's a breakdown of all the different roles I think there are in cybersecurity. That's not all. That's just a decent list. So you want to be analyst, engineer, pen tester, consultant, architect, incident responder, chief information security officer or CISO, security administrator, vulnerability assessor, cloud security engineer, network security engineer, forensic analyst, threat intelligence analyst, security auditor, application security engineer. We ain't even talked about applications, right? You know what I'm saying? So there's so many roles out there. So you guys are going to need to niche down at some point and figure out which path y'all are going to take. And we want to double down on it. If you haven't figured out what path you're going to take, then we'll keep going until you do. But you're going to eventually need to choose something. And that's what we want you to start to really dig deep into. Okay.
I know you like the CISO series, but I know that Simply Cyber goes by the use CISO series to explain the stuff. I like Simply Cyber because he kind of explain a little bit how people got in and put it in a way that people that not having been in cybersecurity can understand it a little better.
Yeah.
So I like to watch that every morning.
Yeah.
I know it's longer than 6 minutes, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm cool with it. It's just that I don't think about Simply Cyber. It doesn't have as much value for me at this point.
Yeah, no,
because
you now.
Yeah. That's the only reason I don't have it there. So I just put the root of it, because the thing is, if you look at everybody's time and stuff like that, like I don't know, in the large scheme of things, I don't know how valuable that is, because you got guys right here you can literally just ask about those same threats and stuff like that, you know. So that's why I typically, like, instead of, like, there's only a few channels that I would send to, like John Hammond's I will, but like that's not even appropriate right now, because I want y'all to focus on the things that are going to get y'all the jobs as quick as possible, you know what I'm saying, and get y'all to be as high skilled as possible. So that's the main thing. Anything else, y'all? Because we're at 11:37. Cool. Scotty, see you, man. Oh, Sam. Oh, Renzo's out. Cool. Yeah, it's time to shut it down, everybody. So I'm going to go ahead and let me end the live stream, and then we can wrap up the meeting. So thanks to everybody who did join the live stream. Guys, I did record this. I'll upload the video, or the video is already going to be online, but I'll share the link to the video in the school.com platform. And so for anybody that is still watching this, so just if you're interested in joining the cybersecurity mentorship program, then the link is in, you can either reach out to me on LinkedIn, or you can check the link to any of the YouTube videos. Typically the link is going to be in the body of YouTube videos. So anyway, thanks for watching, everybody.